You guys can let me know if you can see it.
Looks good to me.
All right.
Okay, Ashley, if you can just go to the flight schedules, they I think know who I am, so that's a good thing.
Don't worry.
Yeah. So we've obviously have, different groups of you going different directions here. So just to try to simplify this as much as I can on the flight schedules, that's always everyone's number one question.
I'm gonna mute, or can you all mute yourself, especially the fellow with the people with the dog? Just kind of mute yourself by the microphone, and I'm gonna do that myself, so go on.
So let me cover the flights here, and then if we have any questions on the flights, I'll be happy to answer those, or Ashley can help me on that. But for those of you who are just going to Egypt, you're not going to Dubai, you're not going to Jordan, you're just going to Egypt. We will be using Egypt Air round trip from New York to Cairo. So that's going to be a nonstop flight. You're not going to have to worry about changing anywhere. And I know a lot of you in this group, I think there's 11 of you in this group. There's several from Rochester here. So the New York option looked like it was going to work well for all of you.
I misunderstood what your intention was.
Yeah, the one couple has the request, and I apologize, I forget which couple that is, but there's one couple that wants to go to Oslo afterwards. We really we're gonna have a separate discussion with you all on that. But the rest of you just going to Cairo will be on Egypt Air. That's Isam, that is a 787 now.
From New York, it's 777.
777. Yeah, very nice plane. You fly all the time on Egypt
Oh yeah,
Air.
I always travel on Egypt Air.
Yeah, so for those of you that are going to Dubai or to Jordan or to both Dubai and Jordan, we'll be using Lufthansa from the US. That may be multiple gateways. Everybody won't necessarily have to go through New York. I know there's at least a couple from California. So we're not necessarily taking everybody to JFK on the Lufthansa schedule, but we're going to fly you from the United States to Frankfurt, and then on from Frankfurt to Dubai or to Cairo if you're just doing Egypt and Jordan. And then those of you who are going on to Dubai, we're going to use Egypt Air. It's going to be like a 7 p.m. flight from Dubai on to Cairo. And then we're going to be using Egypt Air for those of you going from Cairo to Amman. And then Lufthansa will fly back from Amman or fly back from Cairo, depending which one. Those of you on the Lufthansa things, we are choosing that option because it's easier for us to do what is called through tickets. So you can just check in your local airport and then go all the way through. You don't have to reclaim the bags any place. So that's a convenience, but it's going to be 3 flights for most of you because most of you don't live in New York City, or in a Lufthansa gateway. But the luggage will work out well for you on that. So always some trade-offs when it comes to international travel. So that is a nutshell of that. We will. I wanted to wait. Typically we would have already ticketed all of you on this, but I wanted to wait and just see if there are any questions or concerns from this meeting, and then we're really going to start ticketing tomorrow. There's a handful of you that had business class requested business class airfare or quotations on that. I believe emails have gone out to all of you today with those prices, so you can. And I believe Tracy Stevenson in our office did that, so you can. If you will reply to those, we'll get those taken care of. If you want to do it, that's great. If not, then that's also fine too. And we have the one special request with a total deviation, which a different team will reach out to the folks that want to go to Oslo. So,
James, we have one question from Elizabeth,
Yep.
who said, I thought I was flying from Newark. I guess that changed now.
No. I was going to say, I was sitting here thinking about that. There is one person from Newark, as I recall. And we will fly directly out of Newark, because Lufthansa flies to Newark as well. So we will have, yeah, Dr. Elizabeth, yes, we will, in your case, we will be taking you directly out of Newark instead of JFK.
So there is no changes for her.
Well, Dr. Elizabeth, if you can stay on, we can discuss that. Now I'm looking at this. Because you're at Newark and you're just doing Egypt, we can either put you on Lufthansa and fly you through Frankfurt, and you can fly out of Newark, or if you sort of like the idea of getting to JFK and doing the nonstop flight, we can just change you to JFK. And Armand, who is here on the call, Armand is, and you didn't introduce Armand, but Armand, a lot of you talked to Armand, I'm sure. He is here and handling all these details on a day-to-day basis. So, so Dr. Elizabeth, you have a choice there, actually. That was a good question. I appreciate that.
There was another question from Erie.
Okay.
She said that we're going to fly from Erie to Frankfurt to Cairo.
Let me just say, I know Linda had a question about whether flying from Buffalo. Most of us are flying from some domestic airport to
Right.
a place where we'll be boarding a Lufthansa flight. Okay, so Linda, you'll be flying from Buffalo if that's what you'd like. That's probably the easiest. I know you live in Erie, but you'll be flying from. Oh, I got a couple people that I got to let in. So you have. You'll be flying from Buffalo to a Lufthansa site, which will probably be JFK.
Right. So let me restate that again. The Egypt Air flight for those just going to Egypt will be departing from JFK. So we are going to get you, if you have signed up from Buffalo, Rochester, wherever, we're gonna ticket you from Rochester to JFK and then JFK to Cairo. Those of you who are on Lufthansa, and I'm just looking at folks here, the Beckers, Kathy and Marie, those of you like Kathy Gliski and Marie Rivera, let's take them. They're from Detroit. And so from Detroit, if Lufthansa has a schedule that connects, we might fly you directly out of Detroit to Frankfurt and then on. Or if you might go Detroit to Newark and then Newark on. So Lufthansa is a partner with United. So a lot of those Lufthansa flights are going to connect through using United flights. So they may connect in Chicago. They may connect in Newark. So those of you in upstate New York, Rochester's, Buffalo, for sure you're going to come via Newark to Frankfurt, Frankfurt on to Dubai, or Frankfurt on to Cairo that way, because we're not using Egypt Air for those of you going to Dubai and Jordan, primarily because the Egypt Air does not connect on the way back from Oman. So we have to do the best we can with the flight schedules that are out there currently.
As far as when people will receive the flight times from their domestic flights, I know you're anxious to find that out. When will tickets be? When will we know that?
Okay. Let me, I'm going to let Ashley. I'm going to let Ray, if we can table that question. I'm going to let Ashley answer that, because Ashley is in charge of all the final documents. So she's going to give you a timeline of when that's going to come, and she'll explain how that happens. So I think that'll answer that question. Let me see. Was there another question about flights that popped up, or no? If we're all good.
No, just asking about the flight procedures and how it works. So Ashley's going to answer.
Okay. Okay. So if we don't have any other questions specifically about flights, I will let Ashley talk about how all the final documents and those procedures, and she will definitely answer that question. So Ashley.
Hi, everybody. So what we'll do for final documents, just to give all of you a heads up there, Armand and I will work together. So since James said it about tomorrow, we'll start ticketing. Usually it'll probably take about a week to finalize everything. They get it over to me. I create the documentation and we will email it out to you. So you can expect to receive all those documents via email, hopefully 2 weeks from now, once we get everything finalized. So just to give you all a heads up, and then Armand will be shipping out the name tags, the luggage tags, and any other information you may need that you need to receive via mail. So the most important thing is just make sure that we have your email address on file and to keep an eye out for that email. Make sure to check your spam folders and all of that. And your flight times, your itinerary, your hotels, all of that whole schedule will be listed on an electronic document you receive from us. Okay, so any questions about final documents? No? Perfect. Okay, so I'm also going to talk a little bit about the health requirements that you need to travel. Ray, I do have a question for you. So since you live in New York State, do you by any chance have a vaccine passport that you use, or is that only just?
We do. We have a vaccination card called a Excelsior card.
Excelsior Pass.
Yeah.
So does the Excelsior Pass have the have a QR code on it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. That's really helpful to know. Thank you. So for those of you who live in New York State and have the Excelsior Pass with the QR code, and you're doing Egypt only, Egypt allows people to enter into their country if they're vaccinated with that QR code pass. You do not need to get any additional testing to enter into the country as long as you have the QR code. I would still recommend bringing your CDC vaccine card with you. But that's the first thing you should definitely note. Make sure you have access to that Excelsior Pass when you travel. For those of you who are outside New York State, like myself, I don't have a vaccine pass in my state. So what I did is I used the Clear app. So I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with Clear when you travel, but Clear is a service that certain airports offer. They do have a free app on the phone that you can register for, basically like a vaccine pass. And it gives you a QR code and put your vaccine details in. So I would recommend looking into that, downloading it on your phone and filling out the information there. And if you need any help with that, I can send screenshots of my process. Armand and I can get together a couple pictures and show you what we did to do that. But that would be my recommendation for those of you who are out of New York State or who do not have some kind of vaccine pass. So that is for your entrance into Egypt. If any of you
How do
are,
you spell clear?
it's CLEAR, Clear.
Clear.
Okay. And any of you who are not vaccinated, I'm not sure if any of you are or not, but if you are not vaccinated, you need to get a PCR travel COVID test within 96 hours of your international flight's departure. That test needs to be stamped. It has to have a time, a date. It has to have your passport number and all those details. I know I'm going through this very quickly. I assure all of you we'll put this in your final documentation that we email to you as well with more details. So that way you're aware of everything. So if you're not vaccinated, you do need to receive that COVID test to get into Egypt. So those are for your Egypt only people. That's what you're looking at. And then when you come home from Egypt, you do need to receive a test to be admitted back to the United States. The United States does not allow you back in unless you have a negative COVID test, regardless of your vaccination status. So everybody in the group will have to get a COVID test in Egypt. And that'll be about $140. You'll get it in the hotel and you'll have that the trip.
Ashley?
Yes.
We've had a question about what is a PCR test and where do you get them? Besides
That's a great
the one that
question.
you can get in the hotel.
No, that's a great question. So PCR, or it's also sometimes called a travel COVID test, is a COVID test. It's just a nasal swab test that you can get in most clinics, CVS, Walgreens, various places do them. The key is it has to be something called a PCR test. So if any of you have gotten COVID tests before, you've likely gotten the rapid test or the antigen test. That is not accepted. This must be a PCR test, which is a certain type of COVID test. It's a little more accurate. It's a little different of a COVID test process. So that's something that everyone needs to be aware of. You can call up clinics, I know in Florida, I have a local clinic that I go to that does it. I have a network of, urgent cares that do it here. Let Let me think of what
And
else.
that's for everybody vaccinated, or there's nobody that's not vaccinated on this trip, so.
Okay, so if everybody's vaccinated, then you don't have to worry. And then that makes it easier. So you just need to have the QR code with your vaccine proof. That's what you need to get into Egypt. Okay, but this is for Egypt only, everybody. So Egypt only, to get in, you need to have that QR code with that vaccine passport, essentially, or pass, or whatever you want to call it. And then you'll need to have a COVID test that we will prepare for you, and you'll pay for in cash over in Egypt. And then that is for you to get home from Egypt. Okay, so is that clear?
Yeah,
Okay.
if you're going to Dubai, whether you're vaccinated or not, you still need the PCR.
Correct. So Ray's right. So next thing is if you're Dubai pre, you do have to get a PCR COVID test within 72 hours of your international flight's departure, regardless of vaccination status. So if you're vaccinated or not, since you're all vaccinated, you will all still have to get it if you're doing Dubai. Like I said, I mean, in Florida, Walgreens does them. It's important that when you're going to set up your appointment for your test, you make sure that it's a PCR test. That's what I see it called. Sometimes I see it called a travel test. Sometimes I see it called, let me think of what else, a molecular test. Those are all different words for the same type of test. It's just a type of COVID test. You have to get it. You have to have the sample taken, and you have to have your results within 72 hours of your departure. So you need to take it 3 days before you leave, basically.
And everything is in US dollars here. We're not talking.
I put it all in US dollars. Yes, Ray.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, so I am vaccinated. I live in New York State. I have an Excelsior pass, which is digital.
Yes.
Is that acceptable, or do I somehow try to get something printed out?
Are you doing just Egypt?
Yes.
If you're doing just Egypt, the digital version should be acceptable. I actually did a pass of my own. I took screenshots of it and I sent it to our partner over in Egypt. And I asked him, I was like, is this acceptable? And he said, yes, that's acceptable for entry into Egypt. Now, I have to warn you all that these regulations do change. So if it does change, or if we find out anything new that we didn't know before, we'll be sure to notify all of you. But as it currently stands, as of today, that is acceptable.
Ashley, I would also say for the folks from California, I know California also has QR codes there.
Sure,
It's
yes.
a different system, but for sure the California QR codes work as well.
The key is just the QR code, really. So as long as you have that QR code, and if anybody needs help trying to get one, if they don't have the Excelsior pass or the one that they're using in California, you can just let me know, let Armand know, we can assist you with that. But anyway, anybody going to Dubai, you do have to get a test regardless. And then when you travel from Dubai to Egypt, you'll use your QR code to get into Egypt. And then when you leave Egypt, if you are doing the Jordan post tour, even if you're vaccinated, you must have a test to enter Jordan, a negative test. So everybody in Egypt, whether you're doing Jordan post or you're going home, will take the COVID test, everybody. So we'll have that arranged for everybody at the end of your program. You'll travel over to Jordan. Since you're all vaccinated, you will just get into Jordan, no problem. You'll start your touring, and then you will need to have a COVID test to come home to the States. So you will have another COVID test. We'll arrange it in your hotel, same thing. Like Ray said, we put everything in US dollars there, and you'll come back home from Jordan with your COVID test, your negative COVID test. So I think that's everyone clear on that. Any additional questions? Looks like.
Ashley, this is Chuck Mainberg. I have a quick question on the 72 hours for going to Dubai. So are you having any issues with people expiring on that? Because it takes, 2 days or 2.5 days to get there. So it is possible that by the time you're on your third leg, you've expired your 72 hours. Is that a problem?
That's a great question, Chuck. It's actually, they look at your test results when you are checking in for your international flight. So if you're flying with us on that Lufthansa flight and you're flying from, let's say, Newark, New Jersey on Lufthansa, they'll check your documentation in
That's in Egypt.
That's what matters.
$40.
I'm sorry?
Thank you.
Get home,
All right.
whether
Yes.
you are in Egypt or in Jordan.
So it's $100 difference.
Could you repeat that question? Did somebody just ask a question?
Ray, just listening to the comments there, every country has different prices on these PCR tests. I think Egypt's the most expensive one I've seen. Esau may be able to answer that later. So everyone's got different prices. They're pretty pricey in Israel. I think Turkey's the cheapest. $40 is pretty good in Jordan. So Egypt earlier this year when we had groups there, it was $180. So
Dropped, yeah.
yeah, you're coming
Yeah.
down.
dropped.
Some.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
down. That's good. So maybe it'll drop by the time they get
Yeah,
there.
by the time, maybe by the time we get there, maybe it will be cheaper. We hope.
So,
We hope.
yeah.
Ashley, if I could
Yes.
ask a question
Yes,
Yes.
Marie.
or make a statement. In regard to Dubai, the last one I looked online and that, they give you the 96 hours. You can go up to 96 hours before you board your flight because there are problems with flights being delayed and things like that. So, it's not the 72-hour limit as such. You do have the 96 to get your PCR test. But I will say, in getting the PCR test, it's hard to get the results back even in the 72 hours before you fly. And they do not take any type of digital copy of the document or that. So you can't get it emailed and show them you have an email on that. You have to have an actual document from whoever is doing the test that you're negative or that.
I will double check on the Dubai rules about 96 hours. I appreciate you bringing that up. And I'll be sure to have that corrected by the time you receive your documentation. Just so you know, Marie, I typically use the airlines websites for guidance because they're ultimately the ones who are going to allow you in or not, to check in, I should say. So I will check both Lufthansa. I'll check Lufthansa's website and see what they say about that.
Okay. I just spent time, getting Joan Chittister's, she's in Ireland now and she'll be coming from Ireland. So it was a fun way of learning about all the different things.
You're an expert now, Marie.
Is that a
You're an
difference
expert.
because whether you're flying from Ireland or we're flying from the United States? Is that a different?
Honestly, Ray, every country's different. So to get over here to Germany, I did not even need a test. But to get back home, I'll need one. I did travel to Turkey and I had to have a test. I traveled to Egypt and I had to have a printed test. But I've also showed electronic versions as well. So getting into Dubai, I think I flew into Abu Dhabi and I showed an electronic version of my test. So really, I have to say it is just very different by country, to be honest.
Well, and Ashley, I'll add too, when I was getting Joan ready for Ireland and that, what I did just for safety's sake, because like you said, things change every day and you really have to keep on top of all of that. I had her go and take both the antigen and the PCR test. So if by the time she got to Ireland that they had changed anything, she could take both tests out. It was very simple. It was done in 15 minutes. And we did have a hard copy of both tests before she left and that. But, they can drive you crazy by saying, you might have, this might change, and it's like, you don't want them up in the air saying, guess what, guys, we're going to have to test when we land. So
We will.
Right.
it's just easier. And anybody in the Erie area, Med Express is the best one to use to go and get your testing done if you want any testing done.
Well, thank you for the recommendation.
Good.
That's helpful.
Ashley, I may have missed it, but doesn't Lufthansa also require to have the passport number on the PCR test?
That is for entrance into Israel, but I
Okay, it is.
doesn't add it
No.
though.
I flew in Lufthansa coming here.
Okay, and then they.
It doesn't hurt to add it. So what James was saying is some of the destinations we've traveled to during this time of COVID, they've asked to have the passport number on the test. most clinics you go to will ask you for your passport number and they'll print it on your results for you. So our suggestion would be just bring your passport along so you can have that printed on. It's better to be safe rather than sorry.
Ashley, I understand for anybody going to Dubai that there is a requirement now as far as travel insurance that covers COVID. Can you speak to that? I understand that's not the case necessarily in Egypt or Jordan, but Dubai is requiring that you have some special insurance for COVID that covers COVID.
I have to be honest, Ray, I did not know that, and I will make a note of it and definitely research that in addition to the 96-hour rule.
I think I heard that from Rahman.
Okay, I could be mistaken. So I will double check, but I will say if you do have travel protection through us, it does cover the COVID.
Right. So if you don't have travel protection through EO's TripMate, then you have to make sure that you at least purchase a supplemental program of travel insurance that covers COVID. Is that right, Armand?
Yes, sir. Sorry, I had to unmute myself.
Yeah. I'm talking about the special insurance you need for Dubai.
Mhm.
You're frozen, Armand, sorry.
Ray, the groups that we've had in Dubai have not had to have that, but that could have changed here recently. We've not had to have that. And typically all these documents are checked usually when you check in either at the domestic airport, and they may be checked again at the international location. But in Dubai, the only thing that I've experienced traveling there this year is they may check, depending, once you arrive in the airport, for the PCR test.
You want me to check with Zaza?
So
Armand is back with us.
you can, but I've not seen them check the insurance. Okay.
Armand, what was that insurance thing that you were telling people about? I know you called Brigitte.
Am I still frozen?
No, you're okay.
We can hear you.
Okay, all right, perfect. Sorry. So from my understanding, it was that you needed the COVID related protection on the travel protection, but as Ashley mentioned, we'll go ahead and double check on that. I apologize if I misquoted that, but that was my understanding.
Thank you.
Honestly, if I could give any word of advice, it would be to have travel protection in general. Just traveling during the time of COVID, it's been useful. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, I had lost baggage one of my trips recently and it helped me out. So it's always my recommendation to get it if you don't have it.
You're young, so you especially need it. Us old folks, generally don't need insurance, right?
No, of course not.
No,
Right.
it doesn't work that way. Okay.
Okay, so any other questions about health, things like that? I will give everybody a heads up that you probably will have some sort of health form that you'll have to fill out. And if that comes up, we will provide you with the links to those. I know Jordan has some sort of health form, things like that. So I will provide you with those links. Armand and I will definitely have those in your final documentation as well before we send it out to you. Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. So if there's no more health and travel questions of that nature, we'll move on to the fun part and hear from Isam. He'll talk to us a little bit about the itinerary in general. So
Okay, I have a question before we leave this then.
sure.
If one of us were to test positive in Egypt before traveling home, then we would need to quarantine for how long? Do we know that?
14 days.
Yes, so typically it's 14 days. And what they do is we would work with our, Isam will be over there. We'll work with our partners in Egypt, and we will have you put in a proper quarantine location. So every country differs, but from most of the countries I've worked with, you've quarantined in the hotel. Isam, do you know if it's hotel quarantine in Egypt? That's positive.
Hello, everyone first.
Hi.
We do not have special hotels now for quarantine,
Okay.
but if God forbid happens that someone came with a positive PCR test, they will stay in a hotel, but it's not for a certain amount of days until we repeat the test. And then once it comes negative, then they can travel. So there is no such a number of days that they have to be quarantined.
Okay.
Can
So
I add something?
How often would the test be repeated? Every day, every 3 days? I mean,
No.
you know,
I think we have never faced a case like this, but I would say like after like 4 or 5 days,
No.
maybe the symptoms can be gone.
6
I think-
days.
Yeah, I think once the symptoms are gone, then that would make sense to retest. All the hundreds of passengers we've had travel this year, Ashley, I think we've only had one positive test, and that was in Dubai, and that was actually a false positive test. So the person
Correct.
retested the next day and it was negative. So we've not actually had anyone, obviously no one traveled with COVID, and no one has contracted COVID during travels thus far. So, I think that's a positive, and we're gonna
All right.
attempt to
Yeah.
keep that record
Okay.
clean. Yeah.
true. So assuming one were to stay in a hotel, would that cost be covered by the travel insurance?
There is, on our travel insurance, there is coverage for trip interruption, which I believe this is it. And I want to say it covers 5 nights
Okay.
for this. It obviously covers hospitalization. So, heaven forbid that happens. But as far as hotels go, I believe it's 5 nights.
And then Isan would help to make the new flight arrangements once one tested negative?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
definitely. The office in Cairo will arrange that.
Isam's office in Cairo, and Isam's brother runs the office in Cairo. So Yasser, who I referenced earlier by mistake, Yasser would be in touch with us to tell us, okay, it's time to change the flights. We would obviously put them in a status where they're open-ended, and then we would obviously make the change once we know you're clear to go. So I would say here, we've at EO, we've worked with Yasser and Isam and that team. It's 30 years now. So, and I can honestly say that I would try, and I honestly, I'm considering sending my son to join you on this tour. I would trust my family members. I trust my father with Isam's brother Yasser. He would travel many times over the years with him. If we had a charter cruise and I was busy managing details, Yasser would come and take care of my father, just so keep him occupied so he wasn't distracting the rest of us. And Ray knows that he was that kind of person. Just had to have his hands in everything. And he was the founder here, so he got to have his hands in everything we wanted to. I trust my personal family with these folks in Egypt. And I can't say that, I mean, obviously I trust our other folks in other countries, but I have the highest degree of comfort with the folks in Egypt. Ashley traveled by herself as a single woman there in October of 2020. And, again, I had absolutely no qualms about that because I knew she would be taken care of personally. So you will get great care in Egypt all the way through. A great group of people.
Could I make a statement,
Yeah.
please?
Mhm.
I totally understand what you're saying, but you have to understand our concerns. We didn't have a pandemic in the last 30 some years. We've had it just in the last year and a half, and we're still in it. So there is a concern about what would be covered, what would happen. We haven't had this before, so you can't really tell us about what we can expect if somebody would get sick or if somebody comes
absolutely.
down with COVID. And I'm not being a downer on the whole thing. I just have to be honest. I hear your words And it normally would be true, but we've got to throw in the pandemic, which none of us have lived through before.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not downplaying that question because we haven't been through this. And as you can see, there are obviously more rules to traveling, things like that. So, absolutely, we're going to take care of you. I was just sharing that illustration just to know if something were to happen, we're going to be in very, very close contact with you. And these are folks that literally I trust my family with. So, but it's obviously we want to keep you healthy, safe throughout. But it's a good question about, if you do have to stay longer. Absolutely.
Gail had a question, I think, from Ireland.
Yeah, I had a second question then in relation to the insurance, which was the CDC has recommended that you don't travel on cruise lines now or on river cruises. So I think if you go ahead, you might find that the insurance won't cover that.
Can you address that, James? I think that this is a Nile River cruise, but it's
yeah, that's right. So it's a river cruise. So that has been mentioned by the CDC as something that you shouldn't do.
Right.
So the insurance may not cover you after that. The second thing, my first question really was in relation to the fellow traveler there who said, what if someone tests positive? I think we'd have to recognize that all being on the same bus or the same boat, contact tracing would mean that every one of us would have to quarantine.
Gail, let me answer the first question. The travel insurance will cover even if there's even if you're on a river boat. Ashley just actually left a river cruise in the last couple of days. She was on the Danube. So, she can talk to you about that experience, but our travel insurance will definitely cover you on this river cruise and cover you on this trip for sure. The CDC, the CDC rulings about cruises, and it was ocean going and river cruises. Even though they set all the rules for the ocean going cruises, they put out these warnings. As I read it, the warnings applied to if you're a high risk person, that's where you need to be concerned.
That's the elderly and people with compromised immune systems.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's us.
Gail might have a different situation getting that insurance from Ireland since our trip mate really works in the United States. I don't know.
Right. No, it will not cover someone that is not a resident of the United States or Canada. So yeah, it would be a different situation for you, Gail, correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, I just think just want to be careful because insurance companies have loopholes every which way come Sunday. The other thing is about everybody contact tracing, requiring that everybody, if anybody tests positive, my understanding would be that everybody would have to quarantine.
So this is Kathy Dahl-Kemper, and I live in Erie, and I'm a county executive here. So the health department's underneath my jurisdiction, and so I'm pretty familiar with all of this COVID mitigation efforts. So right now, for example, if everyone is masked and someone contracts COVID, you do not have to quarantine if you were all wearing masks. So one of the questions I threw into the chat was, when we are on a bus together, are we going to require that everyone wear a mask? Because this is vaccinated and unvaccinated people. And the big issue here is that vaccinated people, of course, can get COVID, but also can be very much a carrier, asymptomatic. And that's the biggest. The Delta variant has changed everything. And I think that's really going to the crux of, I think, the concerns of so many people who are on this call tonight. And so, I don't know what your rules are, but the CDC will never put a policy in, but they will put a recommendation in, which we should be following. And of course, we're not in the United States when we're over there, but the CDC's
policy, the CDC's recommendation is that everyone, vaccinated or unvaccinated, when inside, wears a mask. And of course, now when we're on any flight, we have to be wearing a mask. So I just would like to know from EO's standpoint, are you going to make any kind of policy around this? And I know myself, I would feel much more comfortable knowing that that's a policy that when we are in a bus together, particularly.
First off, Kathleen, everybody will be vaccinated on this trip.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
No, I understand that, but I think that now Isam or Ashley can speak to the mask thing. I think that's the practice, is it not? Still? Wearing masks?
You want to speak to Egypt?
Well, in Egypt, and as this group is going to visit the museum and tombs in Luxor, in any place that is indoor, it's by the law, they have to be masked.
Okay.
So when it comes to the bus, because my experience with my previous groups that I have led back in May and June, they were small groups, actually it's not that large. So it was recommended. At that point, personally, I was vaccinated here in the States, and everyone in the group, they were vaccinated. So we were only like 10 of us, and we were separated in the bus of 50 seats. So they were not masked. There is no such
35.
Yeah, so there is no such a law in Egypt in the buses that they have to be masked. But if this will make people more comfort to wear a mask in the bus, then we can make it as a policy for this group. If this will make everyone in the bus more comfort.
What about on the boat?
In the boat, in within the like a local area in the boat, like in a place in indoor, they have to be masked by the law of the boat. In your room, no. Up on the deck, because it's an open air, no. In the dining room, getting into the dining room until to the point to the dining room, you have to be masked. Everyone in the staff, no matter where they are all masked. But for the guest themselves, within the local area of the indoor of the boat, they have to be masked. In the dining room, in the room, and up on a desk by the swimming pool, it's their option if they want it to be masked or not. In the bus, again, as I said, if this will make everyone comfort, then we will make it a policy for this tour that we can make everyone masked. Concerning the staff, the guide, which is me, vaccinated. The drivers, not all of them are vaccinated, but we'll be sure that we will be assigned one of those drivers who is fully vaccinated. Everyone from the tourist police, because we will be having a tourist police in the bus, all of them already being vaccinated. So the staff that will be helping you in Egypt, all of them are being vaccinated. So again, it's like a CDC here recommended for you to be wearing a mask, even if you are vaccinated. We will make it this also a policy in Egypt for this tour. If this is acceptable by everyone, and if this will make everyone in this tour more comfort to be masked.
I know that a couple of people have expressed that would what they would prefer. And quite frankly, I think that we would probably want to have that to be a policy.
Yeah, I think in a country where there's practically nobody vaccinated, like 2.8% or something of the Egyptian population is vaccinated, and the Delta variant is now raging across the Eastern Mediterranean. I think it would be absolutely essential that everybody was masked at all times.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I think it'd be very dangerous not to.
I'd like to mention that I intend to get the booster shot about 10 days before we leave. So perhaps people can consider doing that as well.
That's a good idea. I know some of us will be able to be eligible to do that. It's got to be, I think, has to be 80 days.
It's 8 months from when you had the second shot.
Yeah.
You're eligible. So I for sure I'd recommend that if some of you are eligible for that booster shot. So We will then go with a mask policy on the buses and proceed
Everywhere.
accordingly.
Could you give us an idea about the number of people that are on the ship? This is not a huge ship and it's not a small ship, as I understand it.
Well, they're running, correct me if I'm wrong, Isam, they're running at a 50% occupancy. Is that correct?
They just raised the occupancy now in Egypt to 50%. So it's still gonna be a good number of vacant place for the groups.
Yeah.
So it's not gonna be full. If
And
you're
how
talking
many
about the
people
cruise,
How many
normally,
people on the boat?
well, the boat, I'm not sure exactly which boat that we're gonna
Is
use.
a Nile goddess at this point.
At this point, it's a Nile goddess. So if it's a Nile goddess, it's supposed to have like 100 people. It's not gonna have more than 50 people in the boat. Which is our group itself, it will be more than 70% of the occupancy of this tour, which is even makes it more comfort to be sure that our group is the majority of this boat.
so depending on the ship, we might be the only group on the ship.
Yep.
That's comforting.
Mhm.
Were there other questions that we missed? I just think you've done a great job, Ashley and James.
These are
and Tom.
two incidental questions. One about cell phones. Will they work in Erie and or in Egypt
Not in
and
Erie, but in Egypt.
in Egypt? Will they work in Egypt and also transferring American dollars to Egyptian money?
So
Okay.
as far as your cell phones go, it's all based off which carrier you have. I personally have T-Mobile, so my cell phone does work internationally. I do not have free calling, but depending on your carrier, you can purchase an international plan day by day. It's usually like $10 a day for you to have calling and texting. If you don't want to do that, you will have the ability, if you have a smartphone, to go on Wi-Fi at the different hotels, and you can use different various Wi-Fi messaging services. So like WhatsApp, if you use Facebook, things like that, that's all over Wi-Fi. So when you're at the hotels and when you have access to Wi-Fi, you can message through those if you don't want to get an international plan.
So
Okay.
could the trip leaders set up the WhatsApp group? So that at least that would be when that kind of information needed to be communicated to the whole group, all of us would be on the WhatsApp app?
That's a good idea.
Okay, let me talk about this. In the hotels where you're gonna stay in Cairo, which is Meridian by the airport, they offer a free Wi-Fi.
Mhm.
In the boat on the Nile River, there is a Wi-Fi with a charge. I don't know exactly how much is it charged, but usually me personally, I have my hotspot available to anyone who wanted to use it for free. So anyone would like to come over with a smartphone that would like to use my hotspot for using the internet, they are more than welcome to come over to use it for a FaceTime talking. So I'm always available because I will be joining you from A to Z. I'll be with you everywhere, every time. So my phone is always full with the data, enough for every one of you that if would like to come over next to me, I will always have my hotspot available to everyone that can use it for free. And there was another
David said
question.
there'll be a party in Isam's room. What he said, I mean.
And there was another question of concerning the dollars to the pounds. It is a good thing concerning the currency that you take with you. I will highly recommend to get as much single dollars with you as you can. At least $50 to $100 single dollars, like single, because you're gonna use this a lot in Egypt. Do you need to have Egyptian money in Egypt? Not at all. And everywhere you go, they accept what you will have, either cash or credit cards. And even if you pay the cash, you will get your money back in dollars. So if you spend like $12 and you pay $20, you'll get your $8 back in dollars, in American money. So there is no need to bother yourself of how much is this or that, because everywhere you go, the salesmen, they will tell you how much is it cost in dollars. And they are very honest. They will never treated you. They will never get advantage of you. I'm always with you. So whenever they tell you how much is it, it's the accurate price for dollars. But if you'd like to have Egyptian money with you, you're welcome. But the thing is, don't take too much, because you will stuck with it when you leave the country. It's easy to exchange money, which is hard or close to impossible to re-exchange the money back again to dollars.
Yeah.
In Egypt. So take dollars, don't worry about it.
Can I
Credit
speak to
cards are
that?
accepted.
Whenever we travel, you take $50 in ones.
Yes, that's
and
what I'm
you
saying.
Put it
You
in your
need
pocket, or
anything in
$100
dollars.
in
You
ones.
need
And that way,
dollars.
you reach into your pocket, you can pull out $1 or $2 or $4. You don't have to go into your wallet, so you just have it folded in there. And what you're talking about with these, a lot of them are vendors. They're going to want you to buy something that's going to cost you between $1 and $5. And so you can generally do that without exposing your purse or your wallet.
Very wise.
Yeah, I would say the same thing for Jordan. It would apply as Egypt. Dubai is, those of you going to Dubai is actually more sophisticated than we are. So for sure, credit cards work everywhere in Dubai. Dubai is extremely advanced payment wise. So, and you don't see vendors and things like that in Dubai. It's just a whole different experience than.
Sorry, sorry, I hate to be a bore here, but can I revert to the health question? I'm probably a bit wound up about it because I've just come out of lockdown land in Australia where we shut the country down if there's 2 cases. But here in Ireland, there's 90% of the population have 1 dose and 80% of the population are fully vaccinated. That's from 12-year-old and up. Now, we know in Egypt, nobody's vaccinated. We've got 100 million people and we're going to meet a bunch of them. The Delta variant is running around there. Does EO sort of have a policy, or have you thought about when you might decide that this just simply wasn't safe enough for elderly people to travel?
James?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I hadn't met any of you till tonight, so I obviously didn't do that. We've had multiple groups in Egypt through the last 3-4 months, and have not had an issue. But that is certainly, if that's a great concern to you, that's why we haven't done any ticketing yet as well. So if it's something
I think as Kathy Delkamp has said, the Delta variant has changed the equation utterly.
EO does not, just by experience, they don't take us any place that's not safe. And they're very concerned about that. And quite frankly, past couple of years with COVID, they've experienced all sorts of cancellations and the opportunities to having to move things around. They had over 2,000 people scheduled to go to the Oberammergau Passion Play, maybe more than that. What is it? Was it 15, James? A lot of thousands of people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They fixed it. They canceled. When they canceled, they refunded money. This is a good company. So.
Oh yeah, no, it wasn't that. I wasn't really sort of talking about that. I was really just more concerned, from the health perspective. I mean, when you're going to a country where there is no vaccination, and you see that you don't know how many people have it in Egypt because there's very little testing. So it's a real health concern, and I'm just wondering how you kind of assess the risk. That's all.
Yeah, Gail, it's a good question. In the tourism industry, and Isam, you can speak to this. the priority for vaccines have been given to everyone in tourism. So the tourism industry is vaccinated. I mean, in Isam, you can talk about the numbers there. I don't, in Egypt, what's the current status of the, of COVID there now?
Well, for the health in Egypt, as you said, that it's not too many people were vaccinated, but when it comes to the most important source of income to Egypt, which is tourism, everyone working in the field of tourism, they are vaccinated. I would say like 90% of the people working in the tourism, they were vaccinated, whether they are in the hotels, the guides, drivers, even the vendors and the taxi drivers in some certain areas, like in Luxor. Everyone in Luxor as a taxi driver, they're all vaccinated. The horse carriage drivers, they are vaccinated. So everyone is related to the tourism is vaccinated.
Isam, you even said before, like on the buses and that, you would make sure that the drivers were vaccinated, that some of them aren't.
That's what I said.
Yeah,
I said that not everyone, but I said more like 80% were vaccinated.
Okay.
So that's what I said. We will be assigned one of the drivers that is fully vaccinated.
Okay.
We
But
have
see,
drivers that are
you
fully
know,
vaccinated.
I understand that, Isam, but even like for us here in the United States, today we had 140,000 new cases of COVID in the United States in one day. So, that's happening all over. And what Gail is just trying to ask is, when, we understand you want everyone to feel comfortable in that, but you have to understand we need to feel comfortable that we aren't doing something that we'll regret later. And, somebody has to, make everyone feel comfortable about this, or who decides maybe we shouldn't go.
Agree
And-
100%.
And in the news online today, they talked about the river cruises in Egypt on the Nile and how many cases of COVID. There's 30 and 40 on some of the ships. Now, I don't know how many were on the boat and that for the river cruise. They're talking about the rabid dogs that are coming off of the river cruise boats. And now the United States has even put in place that nobody can even bring their pet dog back home with them that have been on any of the river cruises. So, we're getting mixed signals, from people. I'm not, I understand where you're coming from. But, with a lot of the people on the river cruise are in an age bracket that shouldn't be taking the cruise.
This is
Let
why
me-
we have fun.
Yeah,
This is why we have Isam here,
yeah,
and James here, because they are the local people.
yeah. Ray, let me answer that. There is no way. I mean, and Isam and I are sitting here in Polk County, Florida, and our county is probably the largest in the large county bracket in the state of Florida, and we have the highest infection rate here, which is much more infectious than where we're sending you to. But there's no way. I mean, if you came to Lakeland, I can't guarantee that nothing's going to happen to you here in Lakeland or anywhere in Florida at the moment. I mean, there's no way we can eliminate COVID risk together, no matter where you go. I maybe other than New Zealand, who's they're in total lockdown. They've been in total lockdown for 18 months. Maybe New Zealand you could, but you wouldn't get in there. So there's no way I can totally eliminate this risk. We're going to do everything we can to do that. I have not read anything. When COVID first came out in March of 2020, there was one case, one boat where there were 30, 40 people on that boat. I can assure you that the Egyptians have made all the necessary changes. Boats aren't full. We're on much more modern boats than that where the ship that happened on, but I have not seen any reports of COVID on
Since
Egyptian
the
river
COVID
boats.
in March 2020, we have never had any case from the boat.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's for sure.
Yeah, but I know there were cases early on in March 2020, no doubt about it. You can go back and read about those for sure. So can I guarantee your safety? I can't guarantee your safety up in upstate New York, and I know a lot of you are there. My daughter's dating someone from Rochester, so she's been up there too. So that's the best I can answer that question.
You cannot guarantee the future.
I think Dan says it in the chat. He says vaccines plus masks are the way to go. And I think we just have to decide that we each have a responsibility to do everything we can to stay safe and to trust that Isam and others are going to, who don't want to lose a lot of business with travel by having us sick or anybody sick. So I guess like anything else, I've traveled to the Holy Land 25 times. James has probably been there 100 times, for instance. And I've never been on a trip where somebody wasn't afraid beforehand that something bad was going to happen. And I realize this pandemic is something, but it's, honestly, travel is something that you do, and people of faith put their trust in God, I guess, and in the goodness of others.
Yeah, I think we have to take into account, Ray, that there are very clear facts here. The Egyptian population of 100 million is not vaccinated, and the Delta variant is running through the population.
Sure. I just think that we know that we're going to help associate.
That makes it a very big risk. I'm actually very about taking Joan there as an 85-year-old. With a compromised immune system. I'm not sure that it's, it makes me anxious. I mean, it must be clear. I'm not going to talk anymore, but it must be clear to everybody by now that I'm seriously anxious.
Thank you, Gail.
This is Kathy Dawkins. I just want to say one more thing. I think like Gail and all of us, there's an anxiety here. I will say, as again, the person who leads the public health department here in Erie County, vaccine plus masks, not either or, but vaccine plus masks is actually pretty safe. In fact, we just put in a mandate that all schools have to be masked, all students have to be masked, all people in the schools have to be masked. And this is the interesting thing now. If both people are masked, if everyone's masked, the quarantine doesn't have to happen for the people who were in that room when someone gets COVID.
Yeah,
so
can you change the screen, please? I'm sorry.
So the masking, to me, what I would really love to see, and I think many others on this call are indicating, is that there is a policy that when we are inside together, that everyone mask, including on the bus. And I think we will all be much safer, and it'll be a much more less anxiety-ridden trip if we are all conscientious about wearing our masks when we're together inside.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's fair. Ashley, do you think you could lose the screen, the shared screen, unless you have other slides to go? There, good, thanks. And I see Linda has a question or a comment. Linda?
You mean me, Linda? Because there's two Lindas.
Oh, Linda with the hand up.
Okay. Oh, that was me. Oh, I've gone on the CDC site again today, and they rate the countries for travel with regard to COVID, and they rate Egypt only at a 2, and there were many other countries at 3 and 4. So they have their reasons, and it might be and it's for travel purposes. So that actually made me feel better, because there are other places with more heightened concerns. Regardless of what the numbers are vaccinated, they have determined for the State Department and the CDC that with regard to COVID travel, they rated it at 2 as of today.
And I think it was a 3 when we first looked at it, when we first booked the tour. So it's
Well, that was
better
for
than it
overall
was.
terrorism. There's
Mm.
two ratings. There's one from
Mm.
the State Department that's regard to safety and terrorism. Then the one from the CDC, State Department is with regard to COVID. It's only at 2 today. If that makes anybody feel better.
Well, James has the last word.
Yep. Okay, I think we will let Isam, you want to talk? We have here, if there are no more questions on no more questions on that. Let's let Isam talk a little bit about what you're going to do in Egypt, and you may have more questions as he goes through that. And we do have that on PowerPoint here. So, Ashley, can you put that on the screen for us? Yeah, okay. So.
Okay, the day you arrive,
I have to.
you'll be transferred to the hotel, which is, it's a walking distance even from the arrival hall, but because you'll be arriving to Egypt in a different planes, so you will be having, of course, a complete service, which will be taking you from the airport to the hotel until everyone arrived safely. And then this is when we'll be starting the first day tour in Cairo, which is the day number 3, as we're going to explore the Giza Pyramids. There will be some surprises always in Egypt that we're gonna give you. Because it's a surprise, we cannot tell it to you, but it will be a great surprise. Speaking of the sites that we're gonna visit, we might add some sites which is not written in the itinerary, some important sites which is related to the Old Testament. But here it's just written that you're going to visit the Giza Pyramids and the Sphinx, which is a great site to visit. It's one of the ancient wonders of the whole world, which is still remain until today. We're going to visit this site. We're going to have enough quality time in the Giza Pyramids. Most of the tours, they go there visit in like an hour and a half or a couple hours. We're going to stay there at least 4 hours. That will be exploring every single part of the area, having a great view of the pyramids and the Sphinx, have a great opportunity to have a camel ride and feel like a Lawrence of Arabia, cruising the desert of Egypt. That's another thing. And then, as you know that you are within the day tours in Egypt, not on the cruise, you will be having a half board, which is breakfast and dinner. Lunch will be always on your own. Just for you to know, lunches, it will be have only 2 lunches in Cairo, and each one of them is between $12 to $15. That's for you to know. And it will be selected restaurants, wonderful food, exploring the Egyptian food, wonderful lunch overlooking to the great, either the pyramids or the Nile River. You will be having a safe place to have your lunch. A part of that day, it will be also going to that surprise. If the time allows, then we'll be taking you to a place that is excellent, and you will not regret to have this surprise in Egypt. Then we'll be back to the hotel for dinner and overnight. Here's the thing. As the following day, which is day number 4, we'll be flying to Aswan. You have 2 options, either to take all of your luggage with you to the cruise, or if you'd like to just have a little carry-on for the 3 days on the cruise, because we'll be using the same hotel back, we can just store some of the luggage, big luggage, in the storage room in the hotel, and just have a little small carry-on, good for 3 days, that we can pack it and then take it with us to the cruise ship, just in order to be travel light, not to be bother yourself with the traveling. Either way, when you travel in Egypt there domestically, each one of you is allowed one piece of luggage for free. So each one of you will be having one piece of luggage, carry on and backpack. But if you don't want to travel with that much luggage, you can just arrange a small carry-on, take it with you, and then the rest of the luggage, you can keep it in the hotel until you come back from the cruise ship. We arrived on the day number 4 to Aswan. As soon as we get to Aswan, we'll go straight to the site. We will start visiting the High Dam, a great project that is made, which is the project building the High Dam. It's as big as building the Great Pyramids. We explore it, tell you the whole story there. And then we go from there to the first temple in Egypt. Frankly talking, when you are in this cruise, you'll be templed out because you'll visit 5 temples in this tour. The first temple, it will be the Temple of Philae, the goddess called Isis, one of the great temples in Egypt and one of the islands in the River Nile, one of the most beautiful Greek islands or Greco-Roman temple in Egypt, because it's going to be the first temple for you. It's going to be like an introduction of the mythology of Egypt, the religion of Egypt, the art of Egypt. We're going to make it beautiful, and then we will go straight back to the cruise for lunch, checking in. The rest of the evening, it is free. So there's always optional trips, side optional trips that we can do during this tour. We can talk about it now if you want, or we can, if it's not everyone now attending. So once we get to Egypt, everyone, we will speak about this optional trip that we can do in the afternoon, going to visit one of the most beautiful sites. It's not a site, it's a side place which will be taking the motorboat in the Nile River, cruising the river in the places which the big boats cannot go to. And then we go to the Nubian village. Nubian village, it's the place where the Nubian live right now, as they moved them when they were building the High Dam from their location to another place in the West River. We're gonna explore their living. We're gonna walk there. We're gonna see how they live, those people. It's not like a Disney, it's like authentic people, authentic village where the Nubian, real Nubian are living there. When we are sailing on the Nile River with this motorboat, we will go through bushes that will take us to the time of how Moses was picked up from the river. It will put us exactly in the same situation of imagination of how Moses was picked up in a basket from the Nile River. And then we'll get back again to the boat for dinner and overnight. The good thing about this cruise, that's very relaxing, as we are going to tour, come back to the boat, rest, sail, watch the beautiful sailing on the Nile River as you feel like you are sailing the plateau, natural plateau. It's a mix between desert and a valley. Beautiful sailing on the river. So the following day, early morning, we are going to go, first thing, we're going to visit the temple of what we call it Kombu. After we do like 5-hour sail on the Nile River in the morning, we are going to visit the temple of Kombu, which is another beautiful Greco-Roman temple. It's what we call it the twin temple. The reason of that you will know when you get there. We're going to visit it. Aside from this temple, we're going to visit a museum for the mummified crocodile. There is a reason for that. And then we get back again to the boat for another sail, and we'll be having lunch during the sail until we get into the second city, which called Edfu. We're going to visit Edfu, and for me personally, I would say Edfu is the most beautiful temple ever built in Egypt, and it is the most completed temple in Egypt. It's the temple that is being dedicated to the god called Horus. The visit to this temple, it will be all done by the horse carriages. We visit this temple for a couple hours. Then we'll get back again to the boat, continue the sail. We do the dinner while we sail until we dock the following day, or that night. Actually, we dock in the city called Esna. In this place, this is will be overnight. And then the following day morning, as we continue the sail to Luxor, we're going to experience the lock, because the Nile rivers had different elevation. So we experience the lock, going through the lock in the city of Esna, and then we'll be experiencing another sail in the morning, having a beautiful sail during breakfast until we get into the city of Luxor. Once we get to the city of Luxor, this is where the real history is. On that day, we're going to visit the Luxor Temple at night, because you cannot visit Luxor and never do Temple of Luxor at night when it's lit up. It's a beautiful. And in Luxor, there are 2 temples to visit, and both of them are ancient Egyptian temples. The 3 temples that we are going to visit previous Luxor, all of them are Greco-Roman. But when we reach Luxor, then we're going to visit the Temple of Luxor, beautiful ancient Egyptian temple. And then the following day, we're going to start the day morning by visiting the Valley of the Kings. Actually, it might be a slight changes that we may do. If the cruise ship reached Luxor in that day, we might go straight to the Valley of the Kings. And then we visit the Valley of the Kings in the morning, explore the whole West Bank, including the temple of Queen Hatshepsut and the close eye of Memnon. And then we get back to the boat for lunch, and then we do the Luxor Temple at night. The last day of the cruise ship, this is when we'll visit the Karnak Temple. We visit the Karnak Temple in the morning, and again, Karnak Temple, it is the largest worship place ever built in the whole world until today. It's the place that we're going to relate the land to the book, because our major meaning of this tour is we're going to explore and understand our faith. It's not just a tour that we're going to do culture, it's the faith, visiting to the Old Testament, as every part of Egypt has something to be related to the book. My job is to link the land to the book. And everywhere we go, we're going to tell you that this is the place where Abraham was here, Moses was here, Joseph was here, Jacob was here.
Isa,
yes, sir.
Isa, also we have our guest speaker, Sister Joan Chittister, who's going to be talking about the Desert Monastics. So she'll be talking about people that have lived in the desert and did a lot of Christian writing over the years. So just so you know that will also take place from an educational viewpoint.
Excellent. So during the sale, we'll be having enough time to have this lecture to be done during the sale of the River Nile. So we have enough time for the guest speaker to talk about this lecture while we sail.
So we'll have 3 to 4 of those, and it should be, I know she's been writing it for months, and she's just a powerful, powerful speaker. So
excellent. So I would love to learn a lot from them, definitely. So we will have enough time for that, because usually on the sale, we have some time for do some other lectures, because in every site we visit, I don't have enough time to speak about Egypt in general. That's why I'm using the sale in order to make some lectures to speak about lots of other things that people would love to know about Egypt: education, military service, health insurance, all the things about the life of Egypt, ancient and modern. I cannot cover all of these sites because I'll be focusing on the sites about the sites itself. So that would be enough time for me or for the guest speaker to talk about all these lectures during the sale of the River Nile. We reach the Karnak Temple, we visit it, and then we'll take the flight back to Cairo. We get back again to Cairo to the same hotel, which will be used for the first couple nights in Cairo, dinner, and we'll be ready to have someone to come over to the hotel to do the PCR test. So we'll do the PCR tests in the hotel. They are not have to go anywhere. We'll bring them some of the labs to come over, and they will receive the hard copy with the QR code stamped the following day. The following day, which is the last day, that'll be Tuesday, day number 8. This is when we'll be leaving the hotel, going to the last day tour in Cairo, as we are going to visit the Egyptian Museum, not the Grand Egyptian Museum. The new one is still closed, it's not open yet. So we're going to visit the Ancient Egyptian Museum, which still have all the important stuff of King Tut, and which is the major thing about this museum, that still have all the gallery of King Tut over there. And then from there, we're going to visit the Coptic part of Cairo. We're going to visit the Hanging Church and the St. Sergius Church. St. Sergius Church, of what we call it Abu Sirga. This is one of the most important sites for Christians to come over to visit, as this is the place, one of the actual sites in Egypt that we are 100% sure that Jesus Christ was there with Virgin Mary. We're going to visit the crypt where Virgin Mary hid the baby Jesus. We're going to see, fortunately, that now they allow people to go to this church and go downstairs to the cavern, where they will be able to visit and see the actual place where Jesus Christ was there. And then we go to visit one of the mosques in Egypt to explore Islam also in Egypt. And then we get back again to the hotel. By the time we get to the hotel, this is where we'll be having our hard copy ready for us. For those who are ready to travel back to the States on the day number 9, we will say goodbye. And those who are going to go to either Jordan or Dubai, they will be leaving the country. So this is like an overall of what we are going to visit of the tour in Egypt. Open for questions.
Thank you so much, Isan. There's a question here about, there's a recommended reading. And I can say that maybe, will EO send anything on this one, James? Is there any books on in the packet?
Yeah, Ray, we do have an Egypt book we send. It's Adam Hamilton's, but I don't know if we, if there's something that Sister Joan has written that would be more appropriate.
Well, yes, we are
we can
using
certainly
Sister
send that.
Joan's book. We are using a book by
Right.
Sister Joan called In His, I can't remember the name of it, but it's in the letter that I sent to everybody. So, and
Right.
may I
I saw that
recommend
one.
that you purchase that book from the Benedictines on Benevision. I know you can probably get it on Amazon too, but any chance you get to support the Benedictine sisters, the price is the same and the price is right.
Right.
She will
Right,
sign those books on the trip.
There was a question came here that are we be able to visit the new excavation sites like the Golden City and Luxor? No, we will not, because all these sites are still under excavation. So it's a sealed place. It's not allowed for anyone to go visit. So we are not going to visit this.
Yeah, but Isam, I mean, it's really close to the Colosseum Memnon.
It is.
So you'll probably
We
drive
can pass by.
You'll
We
drive
can-
by it on
yeah.
the road. You'll see where it is.
Yes.
But it's still not a site that's open. Isam, we may have other questions, but here, talk about the temperature. How do they need to dress? It's
Okay.
early
if-
October.
Okay. In early October, it's still warm in Egypt. I would say it's like still within the 90s to 100s. There is no dress code that you will need to wear in Egypt throughout the tour, except the last day tour in Cairo, as we're going to visit a mosque and a church. And what's the dress code for that? For ladies to cover their knees and wear like a t-shirts, not a tanks, not a shorts. This is the only place that you can have this dress code. Rather than that, and everywhere you go to visit in Egypt, there is no such a dress code for that. But what is the proper dress for you to wear in Egypt? I would say light colors t-shirt, cotton t-shirts. Shorts are recommended. Comfy walking shoes is very important. No open toe sandals or slippers, because in most of the sites that we're going to visit, still sand, because it's still primitive. So walking in this land with the sandals or open toe slipper, it's gonna bother you, unless if you're gonna wear socks. But I would say again, a comfy walking shoe is very important. Light color cotton shirts, it will be a great thing. Don't forget to bring your sunscreen, sunglasses, hats. Those are very important with you. If you also can get some of the powder that you can add it to the water for dehydration, that will also a plus. I will bring some with me. Just I'm gonna give you that for you to know that drinking as much water as you can, that will be a plus.
Very important.
Very important. And you will find water everywhere. The buses, where we'll be having our buses, it will be equipped with the refrigerator, and this will be the cheapest that you can get. You can get water from every bus that you can get, and you got to be sure. That's what I'm telling you, have single dollars, because this is how you're gonna pay for those little things that you buy, water, sodas, all these things on the sides. So water is the key. Light color shirt, cotton shirt, shorts, hats, sunglasses, and sun cream.
Right. And this, Isam, this is really why the touring happens early in the morning. There's a break in the middle of the day when it's hot, lunch on the ship.
That's during the
Then
cruise.
evening
That's
on the
during the
cruise.
cruise. That's what I'm
Right.
saying. It's very relaxing that we tour, sightseeing, back to the boat, relax, lunch, nap. Even if you'd like to have a nap, we'll have time for a nap. So this will be also a great time to do all of these activities. I just saw also one of the questions here of on Sunday, are we going to have a service?
We will not be able to have mass, I'm sure, but we can
well-
certainly put together a religious service. Where
Well,
will
we can certainly have a mass. I know that there will be no priest with the group, but in Egypt, we can arrange a Catholic priest and a Catholic church for the people to visit only in Cairo, not on the cruise, not in Upper Egypt. But I'm just wondering, when is Sunday? It's going to be while we are in
Sunday,
Cairo,
we're on the
or
cruise ship.
It's on the 10th.
Sunday's the 10th and we're on the cruise ship.
The 10th.
that will be on the 10th.
Yeah, so we could arrange to
All right,
have-
right.
No, that's.
Yeah.
Well, we will try to get a connection in Luxor. I will speak to, because I personally know the head of the Catholic Church in Egypt. I will see if he can get someone to do the service for us in Luxor as well. So
Thank you.
we'll take care of it. Definitely we'll take care of it, and consider yourself having a mass, a Catholic mass in Egypt.
Thank you. Somebody originally asked if this is EO Catholic's first trip. EO Catholic is a division of educational opportunities, and EO Catholic, I'm sure that we've done other trips with Catholics, so this is.
I personally have led lots of Catholic tours in Cairo, personally. So it's not the first Catholic trip to Egypt through EO. There were so many, and personally, I've led so many of them.
Just to highlight, I think here also, because of some of the previous questions, I mean, really indoor visits in Egypt. We have the Egypt Museum, Edfu only if you go inside into like the Holy of Holies in that temple, maybe you're indoors. And you got the churches and the mosque in Cairo, but everything else is pretty much outdoors, open air.
Most of the sites in Luxor and even in Cairo, it's outdoor, except the Egyptian Museum, except for the temples. When you go for only a single room or two rooms in the temple, like the Holy of the Holies, or some certain rooms in the temple, especially in Edfu, and also when you go to visit the tombs in the West Bank in the Valley of the Kings. It's by the law that they will ask the guards there, they will ask you to wear the mask. So it is something that also have to be masked to visit these places.
And James, there was a question, basically, I guess the question was, has EO done tours to Egypt since COVID? And the answer to that is yes, including the one that
Yes.
Ashley was on.
I did it personally.
Yeah, he did.
I
Esau's guided one of our
personally
groups
did
there.
one of them in June.
Well,
What about people that have difficulty walking? Should they bring a little folding chair?
Patty's got a question she'll give out loud.
There may be people that tire easily, especially walking where it's hot. Do you suggest that they bring, those portable little chairs that are also like a cane so that they can shift their position? Or will there be places for people that really need to sit to occasionally sit?
Well, I cannot guarantee that in every side that will have enough place for the people to sit. So it would be a great idea if they can bring their own chair, which is like a walking cane that it can be open to a chair. That would be a great thing to do as well.
Okay, thank you.
There was another question about the electric adapters. The electricity in Egypt is 220. But most of the new devices now, it's a dual. So it can be 110 to 220. And most of you are asking about their charging for their phones. So all the new phones now can be dual. Even in the cruise ship, in the bathroom, there is a place where they can have electricity of 110. So all what you need is just to get an adapter that is matching the Egyptian outlet. If you don't bring it, the hotels can provide it. But if you bring your own, that would be a great thing to do. If you just go to Walmart, you go for the international adapters for taking with you for like a travel kit, you will find it which is accepted or matching with the Egyptian outlets.
I would add to that. I don't know if Ashley's still awake in Germany, but so she's had a long day. In Dubai and in Jordan, a lot of the outlets plug outlets you see there are the UK version, which are the 3 really thick prongs.
Yeah.
Egypt is the 2 small round ones.
Egypt is 2, and in most of the places now, Ashley's so sleepy.
I know.
Hi Ashley, how are you?
Still awake.
So, in Egypt, most of it's like a 2, like a round, but in most of the hotels and cruises now, it's like even accepted the American flat 2. Yeah.
But in Dubai and Jordan, you need to bring both the European version and the UK version. Oftentimes they're labeled UK.
G and C.
It's
right?
one kit that they sell it in Walmart.
I believe it's G and C. Is that correct? UK is G and then European C. I think so.
I don't know.
Walmart,
That I don't know.
has everything in it.
The universal one's the best way, to go.
Yeah, it basically goes back to Dubai and Jordan were under the British Empire for a long time. So
You don't try to plug your hair thing into it.
And speaking of hair, by the way, because that's a question that always comes from the ladies. You don't have to bring your dryer with you, because in every hotel, in every cruise, there is always a dryer. So don't bother by yourself about taking your personal dryer with you to Egypt. And everywhere they have it. In the hotel they have it. In the cruise ship they have a dryer there. So you don't have to worry about it.
I think probably you can. Yeah. Well, we know they're done in the first 4 movements, and they had that.
Okay, do we have other questions, or are we about ready to wrap this
I'm
up?
thinking you could anyway.
I see a couple of people have fallen asleep, and that's okay. And because the 2 people that the most need to fall asleep are still awake. Gail is still smiling, and it's right now It's right now 1:30, 1:45 in the morning, where you are, Gail?
Yep, it is 1:46.
You look marvelous, Gail.
Yeah. And Ashley,
Holding up.
you are around 2, almost 2:45.
2:45, yes.
2:45,
In
okay.
California.
California, anybody here from California?
Yeah, opposite.
Well, you got a long ways to go.
One question I asked was, what was the name of the book by Adam Hamilton?
The name
Oh,
of the
gosh.
buffet?
Is it Moses?
It's
Moses.
It's Moses. Yeah, it's a Moses book. I'm trying to think.
That's Moses, because when he made it, he was in
Alexander
Egypt.
Hamilton.
Yeah.
Yeah, not Alexander Hamilton, Adam Hamilton.
Not Alexander, Adam.
Yeah, there was a
Adam.
question about Adam Hamilton book. Yes, it's Moses.
The sad thing is that book's actually it's dedicated to two people. I'm one of the two people. I can't remember.
I believe it's in the footsteps of
It's in the footsteps of.
the reluctant prophet Moses. It's
Okay.
called Moses in the footsteps of the reluctant prophet.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
That sounds correct. And Esam and I were both there when he actually shot the video for it and wrote the book. So
I was his personal guide when he was there.
Yeah. So it's got our fingerprints all over it, good or bad. If you like the book, it's good. Okay. Good. Are there other questions? I think those are the key things. On the clothing in Dubai, again, it would just be if you're going into a mosque, you have to dress conservatively. So you might want to bring something just to cover up if you're like to wear, sleeveless outfits.
And in Egypt, they're gonna give you a robe to wear, but I still recommended women to bring their own scarves.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to use the robe and cover your hair with the robe that has been used by hundreds of people before you. So I would recommend you to wear your own scarf with you when you go to visit only the mosque. I think it's the same thing in Dubai.
Yes.
Same
So
thing.
you
same
bring
thing in
bring
Dubai.
your own scarf for your hygiene safety.
Right. And in Petra, they're really again, Petra. All the sites I can think of are all outdoors.
It's outdoors.
Yeah, everything in Jordan's outdoors other than the bus. So, and there really are no, that I can think of, any dress requirements there. Dubai is going to be very warm like it is in Egypt.
Even hotter.
Yeah,
It's
and
even warmer.
and Jordan and Dubai has there are more inside visits in Dubai, but again, Dubai is ultra modern, so ventilation systems and things aren't. I can't think of any issues there. So, and then Jordan will be a little bit cooler than the other two places, just a little more altitude in Jordan. So.
Just again, you said the Adam Hamilton book as Moses. The book that Joan's going to be using is In God's Holy Light, and it is subtitled Wisdom of the Desert Monastics, and that's available at Vanavision. And again, it's Joan will be signing those books. You bring it with her. Originally, she was going to bring, 50 pounds of books, and we didn't want to do that. This just makes more sense for you to bring a book. Okay?
If you wish.
If you wish. Understood.
You have a link to it.
Okay, there's a link to Benevision in the email that I've been sending by MailChimp. Okay? Any other comments from anybody? Okay, how about if we just quickly, and James and Ashley, get out of here. Go back to bed. You're okay.
I'm on the same time as you, Ray. So we're going to dinner after this.
You're going to dinner. Good for you.
We're gonna go.
And
to-
then
My daughter is here. She's starving.
Yes.
So how
He's on
about we,
15.
can we
She's
just
15 years old.
Yeah, come on.
your daughter.
That's my daughter come to visit.
Great. Hi, daughter.
Hi.
Linda, could you just say hello and where you're from?
There's two.
Linda Aston.
Turn
Hi, I'm from Newport Richey, Florida.
Have you traveled with
And
Yale
I'm
before?
I'm
Once.
traveling with Roseanne. Pardon me?
No, that's okay. You're traveling with Roseanne? Okay,
With Roseanne and Mary and Peter Palomar.
wonderful, wonderful. Why did you decide to go on this trip?
Well, Sister Joan is going to be the speaker. My mother at my age traveled to Egypt, and it was her favorite place she's ever been. And the two ladies I'm going with are my dear, dear friends. So those are the main reasons.
Wonderful. Kathleen, are you still around? Kathleen Dalkemper?
I'm here. I'm here with my husband, Dan.
Dan's there.
I'm bringing him with me.
Yeah.
And I'm going because of Joan. Love Joan. Went on her first ever EO trip out of
River
Amsterdam.
cruise.
Yeah, we saw you there, Ray.
I got
And,
pictures of you dancing.
Yes, and we want to dance again, so hopefully they allow that to happen. And looking forward to a wonderful trip with everyone. But I am the expert when it comes to COVID-19, so I can help anybody.
And I'm the expert when it comes to flowers. So I'm.
Oh, I've seen Del Kemper's truck right outside Catholic House,
Yeah.
taking care of the corner of Palestine.
That's right.
Yep.
Wasn't
Well, they
new,
got
but it said
gardens.
Kemper
The
on it.
garden design was founded in Egypt, so I'm very excited about that. And we're
Yeah.
traveling with our friends Jim and Nancy Tometsko.
Yeah. Is Kathleen Flynn here?
Nice.
Yes, I am.
Hi, Kathleen.
Hi, it's Catherine, actually.
Catherine.
But I am traveling with Kathleen Russell, so,
Yes.
we'll answer to whatever name you give us. And I don't know why her picture isn't there. It looks like we're
She's
seeing
not
part
here.
of a quilt or something. I don't know. Anyway,
She's not here.
Joan
She's not here
Chittister
because
is
she has
marvelous.
I'm sorry.
Mary Palomar and I are in the same book club, and when she said she and Peter were going to Egypt with Joan Chittister, I said, whoa. So here I am.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Looking forward to it. Let's see. My next person on the list is Gail. Hey, Gail. I think we got to meet you a little bit, but it's so good to see you. Gail is
It's
one
so
of my
good to
favorite
see
people in the whole world.
I can't wait to see you again in person. I could spend the evening making fun and jokes.
Gail
I'm
is
really,
right now.
I'm really looking forward to it. It's been on my bucket list for a long time. It's going to be wonderful.
Gail lives in a beautiful stone cottage overlooking the Ring of Kerry in Ireland. And Gail is the place to hostess. Gail is the host for Joan, who is here writing. But Joan is old and needs a lot of sleep. Would you tell her I said that? Yeah.
Of course.
Of course.
Okay, of course you will.
I wish I were there laying the fire and doing the 5 o'clock drinks.
Is Kathy Gliski here with us? I didn't see her earlier. How about Maria Guevara? Nope. Okay, Mary Highland from San Diego. I think Elizabeth Caton's here, or was, right? I think these folks have all gone. Oh, there you are. Elizabeth, why are you on this trip?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Well, about 3 years ago, I walked the Camino. And hi, I'm Elizabeth, and I'm addicted to pilgrimages. And so I've done. I just could not resist doing Egypt in the footsteps of Moses and the flight of the Holy Family, just especially before Advent and Christmas. And going with Sister Joan was just, I've just admired her and read all of her books forever. And putting pilgrimage, Egypt, and Sister Joan together was just irresistible. So
and
here
we
I
can
am.
relate too, because I've thought about walking the Camino many times.
Oh, you should do it. You should absolutely do it.
No, I'm old. Thank you.
Oh, I walked with somebody who was 84. She was ahead of me the whole time.
I gotta get Don's picture in here. There he is.
Okay. yeah.
Let's see, next I have Lawrenson, Sandra? No?
Yes,
Oh, you're here? Where are you?
yes, we're here. Yeah,
Right there.
Hi.
yes. Hi,
Why are you gone? Why are you taking
Oh.
this trip?
Joan is quite the draw.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful,
Thank you.
wonderfully. Well, that's great. And you are in San Diego also, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
wonderful. How about Charles and Rita? Are you still here with us?
Sandra Lawrenson is
Huh?
from San Diego.
Maybe we should email her after this.
The Mamborts, they were here earlier.
Yep, we're here. This is Chuck, my wife
Okay.
Rita.
Hello.
We're going on the trip, Sister Joan and my wife graduated from St. Benedictine's Academy a while ago in Erie, PA. We now live in Cleveland and we're excited to go. We were in Israel early last year, so this is a nice follow-up trip to that.
Oh,
Great.
nice.
I know
Jim?
there are several Erieites going on the trip, so that'll be great to meet
There'll
up with
be a
you.
couple of Erieites, yeah. That's great, thank you. Jim Meyer, and let's see.
Yeah, I'm right here, Mary and I.
And you're with, again, Mary.
Right, yeah, we're
Yeah.
from San Diego, so Sandra, we should get in touch with you.
yes.
Yes.
Well, you know what?
And
In the email that I sent today, I didn't put you all as blank carbon copies, so.
You have everyone.
Oh,
you
good.
have everybody's email there, okay?
Oh, wonderful.
And if
Okay.
I get a chance, I will send you a roster, but, or does EO send a roster, James? Or, no, she's gone. James, does
Actually,
EO still
John,
send a roster?
I believe we're still sending a roster, yes.
Okay, that's great. And the Palomars, are they gone now?
Oh,
we're
yeah.
here.
There they are.
We're here. So
Looking at a lot of screens, okay. Hi, welcome. You're from our home originally, Rochester.
That's right.
Yep.
Whereabouts you live in Rochester?
Well, we used to live in Webster, and then we moved to Newport Richie for the winters for
Oh,
the
you're in
past
Florida.
10 years.
Webster, Santa Cruz.
And we're up in the Thousand Islands in New York State for
For
the summer, so it's cool and
Uh-huh,
mostly
yeah,
cool.
Yeah. You in Holy Trinity or St. Rita's?
We were
Where do
with
you-
St. Rita's. Now we
St.
go to
Rita.
Holy Trinity. That's where our son lives, in that area.
Wonderful. Well, we're down in Corning. Kathleen Russell, I know you asked about her, Catherine. She bowed out of the thing tonight because
Yeah, I
she's got
know.
a family gathering, so she'll be around. And I'm sending her a tape of this, which I can't imagine
great.
anybody listening to for an hour and a half, but you know.
You can speed through it.
Jill Sanford, you're here, I know, right? Where's
Yes.
Jill?
I'm Jill.
No, you're Sandy. Where's Jill?
No, we're using Sandy's iPad.
There you
Oh,
go.
Thank you, Jill.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. And the Smithwicks are here, or Roseanne's here, right?
There she
Hi,
is.
Roseanne. Okay, yeah, it's your daughter is Linda. Or is she your
No.
younger sister?
But
She's your
we
older
are
sister.
good, we are very good friends, okay? And Mary and Linda and I work together at Tiffy's Church in Newport Richie. And I called Mary regarding something else that we're working on. And I just asked, where are you traveling this year? Because Mary always goes to interesting places. And she said Egypt, and my ears went up because that's been on my list for a long time. And then she said, Sister Joan, and I had made a personal resolve that sometime this year I would hear Sister Joan in person.
Oh, yeah.
So it was a slam dunk. Sister Joan and Egypt, I had to go.
We heard her here at Chautauqua about 2 weeks ago, and she is every bit as dynamic as as you expect. And she's wonderful on cruise ships, and especially in the lounges after.
No, she's always prepared. Let's put it.
Ray?
Yes.
I think we met you at Chautauqua. Were you there 2 years ago at the Catholic House?
That's where we are. We're right in the
Yeah.
dining room of the Catholic House right at this very moment.
Oh, excellent.
Let's see. How about, did I do Kathleen yet, Staley? She's here.
No, I'm with the dog.
Okay. How about Jane, Dr. Jane Testa? On.
Yes, hi. Hi.
That's you,
Yes, that's me.
sort of dozing.
Yeah, well,
No,
I
you
work
just look
today.
so comfortable. So comfortable.
Yes.
Excited.
Excited. I did Israel and I did Turkey and then, like Egypt and Sister Joan. I'm really looking forward to it.
Great.
Great. Who's going to the Old Crow Medicine Show? You guys. Oh, a couple people are going. You stop by Catholic House, okay? It's right across the way from the amphitheater. You're within 50 feet of the amphitheater. Please stop by and say hello. We'll have a little glass of wine together before or after, okay? Let's see, Tometskos.
Yes,
That's you.
that's us.
Okay, you're going because?
Because our good
That's right.
friends invited us to go, Dan and Kathy Dahlkemper.
Yeah, and we had a coupon.
What did you say?
We had a coupon.
Are you a pilot? Are you?
Sometimes.
Someone came and talked with me about their friend who is a pilot who lives in Erie, who's going on this trip with us. And apparently he.
Oh, it's Dan, it's Dan.
Oh, okay. Well, it was, I'll tell you on the trip when I see you, who was telling me you're gonna love them.
And how about, Colleen's not with us, is she?
Nope.
I didn't see her, but we do have.
Oh, Colleen is my sister. She's from Detroit. Colleen, and she's coming with her friend Kathy, and they are coming from Detroit, but I know they couldn't be on tonight.
Excellent. I want you to meet Don here. Don Rapp is going to be with his son Daryl. And Don, what do you have to say about yourself?
And when I heard that Joan was going to be there, I'd follow her around the world. I must admit, I've seen her about 10 times here at Chautauqua. She'd come up and loved her every time. So,
and he wants to argue with her. That's what he said. I want to argue with you, with her
for fun.
For fun, yeah. So it's good, and he's going to be our senior citizen on this trip, right? And
Well, I don't know.
were you a college professor or something like
Yeah.
that? Yeah. And what's your study? What's your field?
I taught child development.
Child development. And which childhood are you in now?
Well,
Never mind.
Well, he also juggles.
He juggles. He was juggling at the Children's Center and he fell and he hurt his foot, but he hopes that'll be healed in time.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah. And so he's going to be here with his son. Bridget Populars was here earlier.
She had to go to the amphitheater for the wonderful piano music, including the Foray Requiem, which I'm hoping to catch the end of soon.
But she's actually here. You can see her name there and
Yeah.
she's listening in or something. And last but certainly not least, I think on my list is Linda Laura. Linda, there she is. I see her. And Linda's from Erie. And Linda, do you know these other folks from Erie? Have you met them
I
before
certainly know the
tonight?
Dahlkempers. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm an Erie native and I spent 6 months in Carolina Beach, North Carolina. And I went to Amsterdam with Sister Joan when she did her first cruise in the Dahlkempers. And that was delightful. And that is where I met Bridget on board the cruise ship. And we've become fast friends ever since then and visited each other both in Chautauqua and in Pennsylvania and in North and South Carolina. So I'm looking forward to this cruise.
Fantastic. And we're so glad you're coming. And you know, the person I haven't introduced still yet is Armand, although he's talked a little bit. Armand he is everybody at EO that works with passengers is called a tour host. Okay, Bridget, myself, Sister Joan invited you on this trip, and the person that we call when we have questions is Armand, because Armand is the expert, and he was able to get James and Isam and Ashley on this call tonight. So he's quite a guy. Say something. And he calls me sir all the time.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Ray. I appreciate that.
It's good. Good.
Can you hear me?
Who is going on this trip with us?
Am I frozen?
Go on. Keep talking, Armand.
Can you hear me?
Who's talking?
He's frozen.
Oh, Armand, you're frozen. Which is interesting that you can do that in Lakeland, Florida, but you know, you are. The question was, who's going on this trip from EO? Patty and I are going to be on this trip, but EO will also have a hospitality, some people representing EO who will be traveling with us. And then, of course, Isam really is EO's representative. And so,
you know, Ray, I obviously wanted to meet everyone here and hear, and I've heard a lot of people were on that, on the river cruise in Holland, Amsterdam, and one of our staff that was on there is somebody I'm considering putting on this. I just wanted to make sure she would be a good fit, but I really think I'll probably have Georgiana Timothy on this, and Georgiana was on that river cruise, since there's so many of you that were there, so it'll be a nice homecoming for her. And she's a professional at escorting groups, so I will be in touch with her tomorrow.
she is wonderful. She lives in Rome, or is she living in Lakeland now? She's still in Rome.
No, she was here in Florida for 6 months, but she is back home outside of Rome in Civitavecchia. So she just escorted a group of ours around Italy, and she's had this on the calendar, but I just wanted to see everyone and make sure that was going to be a good fit. So this has been helpful in that. And now that I've heard so many people will remember her, that's even a better fit.
Yeah, you will love her.
Well,
you will love her. So
for our folks, you haven't seen me on the screen, but I'm Pat. Been married to Ray for 54 years, and I partner with him in this endeavor. And was absolutely thrilled a couple of years ago when Ray said, "So Joan, where do you want to go next?" And we did have a Rhine River cruise scheduled for last year, doing Hildegard of Bingham, and it didn't happen, obviously, but she had already suggested like 3-4 years ago, I really want to go to Egypt. So we're going there because it's a place that she already knows what she's going to say. She has her handouts already printed. We'll probably pick them up in Erie maybe later this week. And she is grateful that you're choosing to travel with her because it's a place that she's longing to go. And you will be able to connect the contemporary Egypt with the monastics that she's going to talk with you about, the desert mothers and fathers. Plus, she has a marvelous sense of humor and is so approachable. So she's really looking forward to this trip. And I'm so glad you got to meet Gail, who's hosting June for about 5 more weeks. Well, that's me, Patty.
yeah. Thank you so much.
And for the pilot, it was Peaches, who you fly to assignment. Peaches. That's her name.
We'll tell some Peach stories when we're on the trip. She's wonderful.
I wish she were going on the trip with us.
That'd be fun. I mentioned it to her, but she's unable to go.
No, I know. I talked with her about it too. She spilled the beans about you.
Okay. You can only believe half of what she says.
Oh, absolutely.
She's Irish.
Well, it looks like we've got a good group and a fun group. I know you're going to love Georgiana. we'll try to not clog up the works too much, and but we just love to travel, and we'll be with you on this trip too. So it looks like in a couple of weeks, according to Ashley, you will be starting to receive your documents and everything that, if you still have questions, you can give. Who do they call? Do they call Armand directly now? No, they call the 590 and they get Jimmy, or
they can call 590, but if no one is available, they can dial my direct extension 296 if they need to.
Yeah, if you would write that down, I'll give you a phone number: 800-247-0017. And then when the voice comes on and says you've reached DO, you push 1. And then a woman comes on and says, if you know your party's extension, Armand is
296.
296, or you can call 590, and that'll take you to guest relations, and they can help you too. Okay. I didn't see what you just said, Dan, but I guess it was probably we're leaving. Goodbye. No, is that what you were saying? Okay. Marie, thank you. I hope your questions were answered. I appreciate everybody's comments.
Sure, they were. Thank you. And Armand, it's so nice to put a face with your name.
He can't put a face.
Yes, unfortunately. I know you don't have your camera on. I don't know what you look like.
Oh, well, we'll have to meet in person.
Very good.
Let me just say, do you remember Marilyn Monroe?
He's too young. He's too young.
I know what she looks like. Yes, I do.
All right. Well, then you know Marie.
Okay.
Marie's laughing though.
All right. Hey, thank you all. Anybody else have anything to say? Happy dreams.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
rest.
you to everyone.
And
Thank you.
if we have another one of these